All right, John. Hello. Welcome to Eat, Sleep,
Hi.
Code, the official Telerik podcast. So I got a little bit of a head cold, so I'm a little scratchy. Don't mind
No
me.
worries.
All right. So I'm going to share some stuff. We've got, let's see here. I always get confused. I started streaming from um, Firefox, and I can't ever remember how to do this without getting the whole mirrors to come up.
Oh, that's fine.
But we'll start with an announcement of Flutter 3. So
hmm
it's like Flutter 3 is out, and it got some feedback from the one of the founders of Xamarin. Um, it says six platforms. I couldn't find in the article all six platforms, but I believe them when they say six platforms.
Yeah, they may be including also embedded and desktop as part of the platforms beyond just mobile.
It could be.
Yeah.
It could be possibly web. I don't know. But it looks like 3.0 is out. It was announced at Google I/O last week.
hmm
And I need to probably zoom in here as well. I always forget to do that. It's built on Dart. If you haven't
Yep.
looked at Flutter before, built
hmm
on Dart, uses Skia Sharp or Skia on the graphics side of things to
Yep.
build out the UI, which
hmm
does Xamarin as well. So Xamarin uses Skia Sharp. So they do a lot of similar things. I think Uno as well uses Skia Sharp. So
Mm.
Flutter is working off Material Design 3. Of course, this is a Google thing, so they're definitely going to push the material design stuff,
Yep.
which material design's not bad. Not bashing that at all. It looks nice. So I guess this got some accolades from Michael de Acaza, or Miguel, sorry, not Michael, Miguel de Acaza.
Yes.
Um, he was just kind of giving them praise. Like, this isn't an easy task to go cross-platform like this. So he was just kind of cheering them on.
Yeah. Props to them for releasing it. Miguel obviously knows all the ins and outs. Miguel de Acaso, one of the founders of Mono Project, and worked in the bowels of Linux and working on the UI aspects around that for a very long time. Joined Microsoft, etc. So yeah, Flutter is definitely an interesting project. I don't have too much interest or experience in Dart or Flutter, but from by all accounts, it seems to be doing quite well. I do know that a former colleague of mine, Tim Sneath, is working on it. He used to work at Microsoft. So he's leading some of the charge there. And I know that they're pretty bullish on the sort of apps that you can build with it. So kudos to them for releasing version 3. And I wish them nothing but the best of success.
Yeah, something you said there just kind of stuck out to me as funny. Like, can you imagine being like a little kid in school and the teacher's like, "What do you want to be when you grow up, Timmy?" And you're like, "I want to work in the bowels of Linux."
Oh, yeah. Well,
The
there are a lot
bowels
of
of
there
Linux.
are a lot of caverns and caves and dark places in various Linux distros. Linux isn't perfect. Neither is Windows. Neither is Mac OS. And some people spend their lifetime focusing on one aspect of it. There are people that work at on all of those operating systems, very specific parts of them that take a life. It's like a lifetime achievement award sort of thing given to the folks because of all the effort they put into drawing pixels to the screen, rendering out content, generating audio, making sure it has low latency on the network stack, like all these little esoteric problems. Those are the sort of bowels that people work in, and yeah, certainly not thinking of the human anatomy aspect, but the sort of aspect that you would associate with caves and spelunking, and that's the metaphor. Yeah.
So just kind of taking a look at the screenshot up here because I
hmm
never really look at Dart too much, but I mean, are we getting to the point where all programming languages essentially are the same? It's like we import a thing, then we put things in a list, and we just like return those things from the list and put them in a grid.
Well, I mean, the concepts work, right? So,
Yeah.
declarative languages have their place for sure, but so do non-declarative set. That is, variety of
Version.
languages that are explicit. So, there's different ways to do their different things, and I think we'll continue to evolve the state of the art over time. Dart has obviously got some key aspects that it tries to target. Recently, I've noticed that they're touting that it's optimized for UI. Now, again, I don't have much experience with Dart, but if you read the literature they have on their website, they talk about that, which is a new thing for me, at least based on my limited exposure to Dart. I thought Dart was a little bit different, but yeah, looks like it will provide a very reasonable language for doing the
It
things you want to do.
looks very readable. Looks very like human readable. I mean, it's very C
Yeah,
sharpy.
class oriented. Yeah,
Got the
class oriented. You got
lists.
some
We got some
aspects.
types.
Yep. Yeah, there's a little bit of C sharp in there. There's a little bit of Java. In terms of those isms, a little bit of TypeScript. There's a bunch of things in there. So
Yep, looking good. Speaking
hmm.
of targeting all platforms with all things, Maui release candidate 3 is here.
Very good.
So we're on RC3. This one comes with go live support. So that means you can write apps now, and they're going to be
Okay.
supported when the release goes
Yep.
GA. So they added a lot of nav features to this one.
hmm
So
hmm
there are like these like fly out nav panels and whatnot.
Right.
So they support these in multiple different ways on here, which is nice. You can do these as a shell, or there is fly out tabs, navigation. There's a couple ways to kind of achieve the same thing due to how much you want to customize these
Right.
different experiences. So you have your options here, which is great. So they added that. And I think this is just like one of those final things they were probably working on that's just getting out the door as the release candidates ship. So they're getting close to launching this Maui thing, and I don't think it's up to 6 platforms, but I do think it's at about 5 here. We've got
Okay.
web, Windows, Mac, iOS, and Android. Actually, if you include Tizen and web in there, you've got 6.
Right.
Which I guess Maui isn't essentially a web native thing, so that's 5 if you exclude that
hmm
one. So you got Tizen. So
Yeah.
you,
Yeah.
uh,
I'm not sure if you'd want to target web per se. With
not with Maui,
Maui.
no.
Yeah.
You'd want to use
But
something
my
like a Blazor hybrid for that
Sure,
type of.
sure. I think the proof is in basically the user experience. So what is ultimately what is going to be in the hands of customers when they get your app on the phone? And by all accounts, it sounds like it provides a pretty awesome experience. Now, I haven't been exposed to it too much, but just like Flutter 3 and all these other environments that do multilingual, multi-environment, slash, etc., multi-platform targeting, it sounds to me like this is the high order bit that everyone's striving for. But just like we've had in the past, where we've had these sort of multi-platform frameworks, the proof is in the pudding. The reason why a lot of people moved away from them is because they didn't have a full fidelity experience
Yeah, it's
with
the old
Maui and
write once, suck everywhere adage. Like,
okay, yeah. So I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful.
yeah, yeah, I think we're doing a lot. This, I think, is you could say direct competitor to Flutter.
Mm,
They both achieve the same goal, right? They're
right.
both looking to be multi-platform. I don't think they're really like direct competition in the way that I think if you're already building .NET, you're probably gonna not jump ship to go do Flutter. If you're already doing, Dart and something similar to Dart, or maybe you're just, there's folks that just don't want to do .NET for whatever reason.
Yeah.
They're probably going to go with Flutter.
Yep.
So it's all reasonable trade-offs, I'm sure, and whatever you're using with your team is probably the best choice. So while they accomplish the same goal, I think it's nice to have choice here and have multiple languages and tools to run with to do this. And Legendary, we are talking about a lot of .NET stuff today. There's just a lot of release stuff around .NET. Just addressing the comment in chat. Um, and you know, a lot of .NET releases, and then we just talked about Flutter here for a minute. I got some robotics things coming up, and accessibility and whatnot. So, ASP.NET Core .NET 7 Preview 4 has shipped. So we're seeing a lot of previews coming for .NET 7.
Yes.
You know, .NET 7
Exciting.
is supposed to ship in November.
Oh,
This is a yearly thing. I don't know if they've
okay.
announced an exact date, but usually that's around the target. Matter of fact, I think they have. Let's try the roadmap here, just so I don't let any cats out of the bag. I don't have any like prior knowledge or anything like that, but
Hmm.
they've made several public announcements that they would like to ship yearly. And the last thing they shipped was .NET 6 in November, so I'm assuming November is their target.
Okay.
So yeah, it doesn't say in there, but I know they're just looking for that time frame. So Preview 4 is shipped. This is ASP.NET course.
Yes.
This is all the web servery stuff.
Hmm.
So we've got HTTP2 performance improvements, minimal APIs. Let's see, Open API improvements for minimal API. So Open
Yes.
API, if you're not familiar with what that is your Swagger type stuff. So Swagger, I think, is the branded name of Open API.
That's right.
Um,
So there's Swagger, and SmartBear is the company that actually came out with that, if I remember correctly. OpenAPI is the open spec, which allows you to describe endpoints and operations along with return types, etc. You can kind of think of it as an evolution of what we used to think of as WSDL, or the Web Service Description Language. That's
yes.
many moons ago. It's based around JSON schema. It's based around utilizing transports like HTTP. So yeah, the verb structure around that allows you to define operations, etc. So OpenAPI has a lot of tooling around it, and so it's good to see that they're adding better support for it. Improvement
Yeah.
around minimal APIs. I guess these are APIs that are parameterless. Yeah,
This is
they have no parameters, maybe.
Minimal APIs is a new API surface for defining web controllers. So
Okay,
usually you'd have a controller that has a method. That method is tied to an API endpoint. Minimal
right.
APIs let you kind of ad hoc just declare a controller endpoint just by saying map.get and then assigning the URL that you want that that API endpoint to live on. So you
Interesting.
kind of
Okay.
don't have to set up an entire controller class for every controller you have. You can kind of
Okay.
minimize the amount of syntax you have to write to make those
It
APIs.
it sounds to me like it eliminates a little bit of boilerplate.
Exactly what it does. Yeah.
Okay.
So this is similar to the effort to remove namespace scopes from your files. If you've opened up a .NET project recently, like in your program CS, for example, you don't even see like a bunch of using statements. You don't see any kind of curly braces. You just see like a couple definitions of,
Okay.
this is going to build a web host, and then we create the web host, and there's not a bunch of ceremony around it. Like there's no startup class or startup method inside of a startup class. Like all that stuff's taken away. It's just like we already get this is what it's for. We're just going to
Yes.
call the routines here. We're gonna do some dependency injection, registrations, set our settings, and run the app. We're just going to do that. We already know what this file is for. Same thing with minimal APIs. It's like, okay, we know this is a controller. Do we really have to say this is a widget controller and then have constructor and
Yes.
a bunch of methods that essentially just map to a JSON request? No, we're just going to call whatever that's going to spit out our JSON results, and that's the minimal API.
Right. Okay.
That's it in a
Cool.
nutshell, anyway. So you see a lot around that. It's just making things much simpler and easier. Um, some more gRPC stuff is coming. It looks like I know they're still making headway on that.
Hmm.
uh, and Signal R as well, which is interesting because these are two again, they're two ways to do the same thing kind of, but they're making an effort to make both available so you can choose which one you want.
Okay. Okay.
Um, they are technically different, but they kind of achieve the same type of goal. They're both kind of RPC type behaviors.
Excellent.
Yeah. Um, so there's also some new workloads that they're adding. It looks like for building WebAssembly projects. I know there may be some WebAssembly stuff coming. I know Steve Sanderson is dabbling with WASI or WebAssembly on the server. Don't know if there's anything official in here about that yet, but I know he's been doing a lot of research on that.
Okay.
So you can kind of think of WebAssembly as the CLR of the future. So I don't know if there's anything concrete in here, but they might be starting to pave the way for it a little bit. And here's some of the minimal API stuff that I was talking about. It's really app map get. Like you just call this over and over and over again with all the API endpoints you want to create, and that's it. You don't have to
Okay.
make a big folder full of controllers anymore.
Nice.
Yeah. So yeah, and here's a good screenshot of Swagger if you haven't seen it before, folks.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
essentially, your application.
These documents can get quite large, and they can bring your browser to a halt, depending on how many endpoints you have.
Yeah, they can. They do collapse nicely and stuff too, so it doesn't
Yes.
pollute your whole screen. But it's just a kind of GUI browser into your APIs, web APIs that you have, so you can test them.
Yep.
So you can call up, like for this example here, to dos, and then it's requiring an ID. So you could come in here and type an ID number, click try it out, and it's going to give you the results back from that number, however your
Right.
API was set up to resolve that, whether it's calling a database and spitting it back out or whatever. Um, yeah, and here's some more of that minimal API stuff.
Nice.
As you can see, this is setting it up. This is setting up the application. Actually, this is building the API up, and then these are the actual APIs here. There we go. So
I like it.
very cool stuff. Yeah,
Hmm.
lots of stuff coming in ASP.NET. ASP.NET's popular. We often talk about them in the context of their front end counterparts. There's a lot of just back end counterpart stuff um, in ASP.NET Core. You don't have to take MVC. You don't have to take Blazor. You don't have to do all that. You might just be serving up web endpoints, which is what a lot of people do.
Hmm.
.NET 7 is also in preview 4. So these are, .NET 7 and ASP.NET 7 are going to, ship together. So it's not uncommon to see these previews come at the same time.
Yes. So they've
So
mentioned a few things there that are new. I'm
mhm.
curious to see some of the stuff that they've added. So okay, notable annotations for Microsoft Dot extensions. Fine. What else is there?
We've got APIs that work with tar archives now.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, I think this is probably
That'd
more
be
of an
nice,
effort.
actually. Actually, that'd
Yeah.
be really nice now that I think about it. Yeah.
So
There are
compression
some limitations
is
to .NET that I've wanted to have fixed for a long time, especially in the multi-platform space.
yeah.
Signing tools, for example, that only run on Windows, or not being able to work with archives that aren't zip files, for example. So that's cool.
As you go from platform to platform, you find differences in things.
Yep.
Like pathing is different from Linux to Windows. Like
Oh yeah,
I've
but
run
yeah, that's an
into
all.
like capitalization and stuff will throw a fit on a Linux machine and all that.
Yep.
They've also chosen different zip formats as well, so compression formats. And tar is like very much a Linux format for doing compression.
Right.
So it's nice to see the support there. Looks like container stuff is coming, Linux packages. Um, let's see, we got nullable annotations for Microsoft extensions. I'd have to
Okay.
read more into that. I don't know exactly what they're getting at there. Observability. This is something that people um, are looking for in a lot of their apps. This looks like it's coming from OpenTelemetry though, so we're
Yes.
getting observable collections from OpenTelemetry.
Yeah, so OpenTelemetry is awesome. We're actually big fans of it.
Mhm.
It's basically it's becoming sort of, it's not an industry standard, but it's a widely adopted sort of way of representing. Uh, I guess you would best describe it as transaction scopes in a distributed manner. So
Mhm.
OpenTelemetry defines a sort of like a universally agreed upon way of having correlation IDs, etc., so that you can trace, where calls occur within systems in a platform neutral, vendor neutral way, and they're adding better support for it. So that's awesome.
Yeah, so it looks like you can track activity and you're going to get change events on that
Wicked.
stuff. So you can do like real time monitoring, build your own real time analytics type of stuff with it. Let's see what else we've got. There's
New
our
tar
new
APIs. There we
tar
go.
file APIs. So tar file
Wicked.
create from
Love it.
directory. You just
Perfect.
zip up your files and zip them and ship them, right? Uh, so we've got it looks like gzip that's been supported for a bit, I think, on .NET, and this is just another addition. Let's see, there's stuff going on in code generation. Um,
A graph. Awesome. Always like graphs.
some benchmarking. It looks like we've got here performance on stack replacement. This is above my pay grade. I have no idea what we're talking about. Something about just-in-time compilation. That might be nice for Blazor. We'll have to see if that rolls into Blazor somewhere, because it uses some sort of jitting under the covers to do
Hang on a second.
like
Just wait a
WebAssembly
second
stuff.
on central. Just wait a second on central package management.
Sure.
Dependency management is a core feature of NuGet. Managing dependencies for a single project can be easy. That's not necessarily true. Managing dependencies for multi-platform solutions can prove to be difficult as they start to scale in size and complexity. In situations where you can manage common dependencies for many different projects, you can leverage new pack central management features. Okay.
There's
I
a
have
lot of
not read
stuff.
about central package management yet. This is interesting to me. I will read this after the show.
Yeah, this is a big set of documentation here. So this is all brand new. Um,
Interesting.
and you can disable it as well. Yeah, I'm not sure
Package
how
management. Package management can be really gnarly, really gnarly. So
anybody that's touched
dependency.
npm knows this for a fact. So
Come on, NuGet's not alone. Actually, I would
it
argue
is
that
not, but
NuGet's got some problems too.
of
So
course, yeah.
yes.
Targeting .NET 7, we've got that under control. Like this is just setting up your framework, basically.
Yep. Yep.
Um, let's see. .NET 7 is current release. It's
Now is
getting
.NET 7 going to be the? Is that going to be the sort of LTS sort of
so
version?
.NET 6 is LTS. So this
Okay.
is going to be current. Um,
Okay.
so you can move to 7, you'll get support, but once 8 ships, then you'll be expected to go to 8.
And will 8 be the LTS, or is
And
it every third version?
8 will be LTS.
Okay.
So every
Good to
other
know.
version is LTS.
Good to know.
So it's perfectly fine to adopt these things. It's just
No, 100%.
they
100%.
once
Yeah.
you go to .NET 7, they would expect you, if you call for support, to go to the latest version of .NET 7 or .NET 8, whichever is greater.
There's a comment in the chat room how they're going to change to .NET 7.1 for being LTS. That's funny. Just to mess with everyone.
Yeah,
Actually, LTS is 7.0.1. Perfect.
saying they've never done that before.
Mm-hmm.
Visual Studio 2022 17.2 is now available.
That
So
is a horrific version policy. Let's add marketing and version numbers together. So, anyways, whatever.
let's see, we got raw string literals. debugging collections. I think we talked about
Ooh,
this
that'd be nice.
before.
Yep. Oh yeah, we have,
Uh,
but yeah,
yeah,
but that's okay. I'm just wondering if they've modified this or if it's that simple control that they've done before. No,
yeah,
it's the
this,
same thing. Okay, we've
yeah,
seen that.
I think we,
Yeah.
yeah, this was in preview. I think last time we talked about
Yes.
it, which
Okay, so
wasn't
it's now
long ago. It
official.
was like a month or not even ago. It was in preview, and I said this is similar to another tool I called Ozcode. Uh, that one, that one's a pretty close clone of.
Just
This is
jump
a
back up the
clone of
string.
that.
Just jump back up the string literals for a second. Just let me see. So they're highlighting escape characters. It looks like. Is that what they're
Yeah,
doing here?
it looks like we've got tooling in there too that we can swap between raw
Oh, it's got some
and
it's got some
indented.
built-in boilerplate. Yes. Okay, I see. Yeah.
Yeah, so you've got like the /rn. Uh, it's like return new line
Yeah.
feed,
These are quick actions that are going to be that you can apply
mhm,
if you need to.
convert to verbatim string. I like
We
these
now have a
because
refactoring to convert a normal verbatim to a raw string literal. Okay. Well, there you go.
yeah, this is similar to like if you want to go with what do you call it? Expression bodied member to a fully formed method,
Right.
that sort of thing. It just kind of swaps between different ways of writing something. I like those because
Yeah.
people's opinions change from developer to developer. Razor editor. I talked about this before at length. I think it was at Star Trek. Somebody was asking me about this, or no, it was in a mentoring session I had with some
Okay.
folks on a workshop. So somebody said, "Why is the Razor?" This is their words, not mine. Please don't shoot the messenger. They're like, "Why is the Razor editor so terrible in Visual Studio 2022
Okay.
when it was perfectly fine in 2017?" That's because they're in the middle of rewriting it, and they felt like they're at the point where they could ship it, and that might have been a tad hasty because it was full of bugs for the last probably 6 to 9 months in the live mainstream version. So it was pretty buggy for a bit. So
Right.
happy to see that they're still working on it actively and fixing it. The reason they're doing this is because they want Razor editors supported in Visual Studio Code and Visual Studio for Mac. So there is a language service that has been written. It's kind of you can think of it as the CLR for Visual Studio,
Okay.
and each each editor that we have talks to this language service instead of having to implement a Razor editor three completely different ways. You can write the engine that can talk to the language service, then that can kind of interpret for the editor tool.
Okay.
So
Okay.
you don't have to you write once to play everywhere on your different languages.
Right.
So the Razor editor, once they finish it, you should see it in all three of those products, and it should behave the same.
Okay.
So that's my understanding of it anyway. If there's a different hot take from the Microsoft folks, if anybody wants to correct me, I'm more than happy to hear it. Yeah, so they've added some things, and the obligatory Shift Alt W has finally been added. This is the wrap shortcut. Um, this is kind of handy. Like you'll highlight a block of HTML, say like we highlight this, we press these three keys together, and we get a div around those three items.
Right.
So it's a really handy little tool, you know, for web developers. Web Live Preview. This is something that keeps popping up, and we don't hear a bunch about it, and then all of a sudden we'll see something come up. So Web Live Preview is the concept of you've got an editor, and you'll see default ASPX. You know what ASPX means, John?
Yes.
We're doing web forms here.
Yes.
This is web forms, and the live like draggy droppy editor has been kind of gone for a bit, and it's being updated with Web Live Preview. So you can actually open up a live instance of your application, make changes in the live preview. Those changes will then propagate back to the code editor. This is something that they had. Now, keep in mind when I say this, this was just raw HTML, CSS, and that's it.
Mm.
Not a compiled application, but Adobe had this back in the day with what was it called? Their web editor.
Oh, you're testing
Dreamweaver.
me now.
Dreamweaver.
Yeah, Dreamweaver
This,
is
yeah,
that was another company, I think, and then they got acquired by Adobe. But yeah,
yeah. Dreamweaver used to do this a long time ago, but again, with just basic HTML. This is more than just basic HTML. It's actually taking compiled templates and translating back where that data came from, and you can live edit your documents
I
in
just
the
did a search
browser
of
window.
Dreamweaver on Wikipedia. It was started by Macromedia. That was the company name I was trying to think of,
Yeah,
and then they got acquired by Adobe in 2005.
yeah.
Sorry, just a
Macromedia
little
started
FYI.
Flash as well.
Yep,
They were the web side of things that Adobe acquired.
nice.
I've been doing this a while, unfortunately. Right. So Azure development got some new
Yep,
changes there,
yep.
and my mouse. Sorry about that. It's just like going nuts. Um, quickly configure, develop, and deploy services. So I guess they added some new templates and things for different container images.
Yep.
So we've got Redis, RabbitMQ, MongoDB, Cosmos DB, all that you can just publish directly from Visual Studio. Which these are super handy. I've done this recently. I needed to test the Blazor app, and I didn't want to, this isn't something I was going to put, quote, in production. It's just I needed to test it in a live environment. And it was just like right click publish, and it like generated a web, what do you call it, container for a website, built it up, put it in Azure, and there it was. Just a couple clicks, and everything was deployed. So super handy for that type of purpose too. More C++, Git tooling. Um, they are just going to town on all this. And then we've got, of course, Maui, which we just talked about. So we've got tooling for that as well. You just check the workloads for a multi-platform app UI, and you get all of the templates and features there.
Cool.
All right, John. We talked about a lot of serious business here. Let's talk about
Hmm.
something a little less intense. So somebody built a robotic aimbot.
Oh
So
God.
they're using like computer vision
Yeah.
and a little like it looks like a
Raspberry
little
Pi.
Raspberry Pi. Yeah. Yep. Let's see here. I'm trying to make sure this isn't an ad, and it is. It's an ad. Let's get past the ad so we can see it in action.
I
So
have YouTube Premium. I don't know what ads are.
So this thing is like looking at the screen.
Sure.
This is a kind of a pseudo like meta game called Aim Lab, and basically all you do is shoot the balls, and it's supposed to like increase your efficiency in first person shooter games. But if you look down here, like this mouse
Yeah.
uh, on little motors is being driven by some kind of computer vision algorithm, and it's just going nuts on these targets. So you get to the end of the video there, and it burns out the motors. It's going
Oh,
so
good.
fast. So it says in the title here that it aimed so hard it died. So yeah, this is while it's cool, it's also super annoying to folks that play video games like myself.
I think a lot of gaming companies are actually writing algorithms now to try and auto detect this sort of thing, aren't they?
Yeah, it's really difficult because they're like they're looking at it where they're trying to figure out what's humanly possible, and we've done this with like web forms and stuff before too. Like you can like the captcha things, you can present a form to a user, and if that form gets filled out in like a millisecond, like a robot did it.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
So there's like simple captcha stuff that they've done with the web that they're trying to do like similar kind of techniques. And it's like, well, you could not have gotten from target A to B in that amount of time and been accurate doing it unless you've got some kind of some kind of leverage here, like some kind of
Yes,
hack.
it's
Or,
the game equivalent of the Turing test, basically.
yeah, and they're not perfect because they've found a lot of false negatives, and
Hmm.
they've had like tournaments and things where Counter Strike's a big game where they've had stuff like this go on, and they've had the false negatives get um, kind of, I guess, flagged during these
Okay.
competitions where they're using dedicated tournament hardware. Like there's no way this person is cheating. Like they came to a place that has computers that are already set up and they're being watched and they have cameras on their hands. You know what I mean? This is a live event, um, live competitive event, where there's literally a cameraman filming these people while they play. And this guy is, going at it so fast that he triggers the internal um, anti-cheat. So that has happened. Um, so those things aren't perfect. We'll never figure out cheating. I don't think it's one of those
Mm.
cat and mouse games, kind of like security is. But
I just find it sad. It's like why are we doing this? Just play the game. It's for fun.
so
But whatever.
I support like person who is making the Raspberry Pi thing for fun, and maybe they want to deploy this on their account and watch, just to see if it can do what they, you know, can I make this happen?
Okay.
And unleash that thing and go, wow, that was really cool. I was able to use computer vision to do that.
Mm.
Now the next step is like when they start boxing it and selling it, that's when I have an issue. It's like, really, dude, like, yeah, that's not cool. That's not what we want to do. So fine line there. This is a little more lighthearted than that, I guess. Uh, this is an article that was on Medium, but it's published by Progress, the
Uh-huh.
company that I work for. Great read, though. It's 4 ways to make mobile apps more accessible. So it's talking all about accessibility.
Hmm.
Um, and it gives you some really good tips about how to kind of lay out your application and make it more accessible. It's very focused on mobile apps, so Android and iOS. Um, give context to your icons, like your give actual text that screen readers and things like that can read. There's just a lot of tips in here. Give click alternatives to gestures.
Hmm.
Uh, place accessibility features and settings. These are all just good, well established best practices.
Yep.
And this is things that you can bring to your apps to make them more accessible. I thought that was a good.
Yeah, shout out to Apple
Good
here.
job.
They've done an excellent job in terms of exposing gestures that are hidden away by API to folks who use the built-in accessibility features.
Yep.
So if you haven't seen this before, you can enable this on an iPhone or iPad, and they allow you to mimic any gesture. They you can actually tailor the iOS quite well to the settings you need. So shout out to Apple for that. They've done a really good job there.
hmm this one is not written by us here at Progress, but may seem a little self-serving, but I liked it, so I brought it up. But this Francisco here, he says, "Stop creating UI components from scratch," and I have to agree with this. The article goes on to like why you should, why you shouldn't. I like the way he
Right.
covers it. It's a, you know, um, this is unsolicited, you know, commentary about kind of what we do. So I like that. And I like this. When to go from scratch. You are a UI UX designer. Like that is like the first checkbox. If you cannot check
Sure.
that box, you do not need to be creating UI components for your applications, especially the web. Um, it is literally your job to build what your designers send you. Okay, that might be, if you could check that box and move on to this one. That, yeah, I agree with that too. You need complete control over it. This one, people are a little they fudge a little bit. It's like some people are control freaks. They really just want control over every bit of code. They're like, I don't use frameworks. There's that crowd. So
Sure.
hopefully,
Yeah. Don't. Why not?
hopefully,
You don't need a compiler if you have that attitude. Write the
right.
binary yourself.
I've met plenty of these folks, by the way. They do exist. There are a lot of them. You're a student. You have a lot of time to learn. I mean, yeah, if you're just doing it to learn, no problem. The project isn't time constrained. I can't agree with that one. Like, this is still a waste of time and money, even if it's not time constrained. Like, you could be doing other stuff. Why are you building UI components from scratch?
Hey, fair enough.
The component you're trying to build does not exist, or you can't make it from existing components. Again, this one is also context matters here. So sometimes UI components don't exist because there's not a UI convention for
Hmm.
that thing you're trying to build. And you don't want to create new UIs that people don't use. So I don't know if I doubt that's what he meant, but if there's a UI paradigm that you're trying to solve for that nobody makes a component for, then nobody's going to know how to use the UI when they see it,
That's
right?
true. Yep.
There's a reason that these things become standards. It's because it makes the apps easier to use. And he goes into like where he's coming from, his perspective on why he's writing this, and a lot of it is from experience. And then he talks about choosing the right library. I can't remember the context of the entire article. React. He's talking about he's a React developer. That's what it was. And there was like material UI for React. He was using it and was happy with that. So I thought it was just a good read, and I totally agree. Like, take a look at your framework or platform that you're developing
Yep.
for, and
Yep.
go get some components. Just go get them.
Just do it.
Yeah, I won't name the company that I'm working with on this project, but they have a back office that it is a complete shambles because they're creating literally all of the componentry from scratch as they try to develop the back office. The back office is just a very frustrating thing to even look at, let alone use. And I had to set them down and have a little conversation and say, "Look, I know we're working on a thing together, and I don't want to be advertising my products to you while we do it. But look, you need to stop with the homegrown UI stuff that you're
That's
doing
fair.
really, really poorly.
Yeah.
Because as an author in your system, like I'm just like trying not to claw my eyes out while I'm trying to use your system. And I can tell just by using this app that you're constrained for time and you could be focusing on solving problems rather than inventing UI components that suck. So you could, look at some of the things that we build, and
That's a beautiful segue. Well done.
yeah, that's what we
You
did
nailed
this
it. You
week.
nailed the dismount on that one.
Yeah, that was a very shameless plug, but it is a true story, and it hits very close to home for me. So we had a huge release week. I won't go through all the details again. I will just say if you did not catch it, it is on our YouTube channel. We have webinars, we have live streams that we did all week. We're still doing stuff, I believe, um, with all of our productivity tools and all of that. We've got lots of content that just got shipped. So
Nice.
go to our website, check out those things, and that's all I've got, John. Any final
Cool.
words from you?
Um. No, there's no, not this time.
All right.
I was building up to something, and I was thinking, no, I'll save that for next week.
Save it for next week. We'll have we're gonna do some more interview shows, and John, we'll have a show with you so you could talk about what you've been up to lately. So
Oh
that should
God.
be interesting as well. We'll have to get that scheduled and put on the books, my friend.
Okay, sounds good.
And we'll see you soon.
Cool.